When I was a kid, I had this desk buddy I sat in the back of class with who was pretty chill. We'd talk about TV shows like Static Shock and Mucha Lucha. The show with the big foreheads? No, I haven't watched it, sorry. Throughout class, he'd always hum this oddly familiar tune. Dun 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 dun. It wasn't until one day where we went on a field trip to a bookstore where a dude with a guitar taught us about music and asked everyone their favorite genre of music. He asked me, and I said, smooth jazz, and that probably got the response you'd imagine from my friends. But in my defense, that was my walk-up music in backyard baseball. Like, that is why I picked it. I didn't know much about genres. But then, my desk buddy raised his hand. His favorite genre of music? Well, that was an easy one. The Code Lyoko theme song. I'll never forget the look on the man's face. It wasn't judgmental, it wasn't angry, it wasn't happy. It was almost like he was still waiting for the answer. If I could have any superpower, it would be to read minds, cause I would love to know what he was thinking. My friend repeated himself. And it hit me. Oh, that's what he was singing. So for a long time, that was my only exposure to the show, was just that it had an amazing theme song and a funny story that I always thought about. But once I started watching the show, I really fell in love with the combat and this group of characters who are all such good friends. And today, we finally get to see how the show ends, and whether they'll truly defeat Xana once and for all. As well as what happens to Aelita and Franz Hopper, along with all the other moments we've waited 80 episodes to see. So let's start our final Code Lyoko video with episode 81, A Lack of Goodwill. I see what you did there, like a lack of good William. This episode starts with Odd and Aelita flinging their lunch up on forks and catching it, but when they accidentally hit Sissy, it's actually William who gets blamed for this, as he's sitting absentmindedly about to fling his glass. The Lyoko crew find it strange William Spector's taking its own initiative now, but I find it kinda strange they don't sit with him at lunch. Like, maybe a Spector doesn't have feelings, but you could at least babysit him so he doesn't just chuck glass at people. Aelita even feels bad for him and is like, hey, I was artificial once too, and then the news reporter gals hear this and press William for a good portion of the episode. There's a fun team dynamic this episode with Odd and Yumi teaming up, which we rarely see, along with Ulrich and Aelita, who are traveling through Area 51 searching for the hacked supercomputer replica. While this is happening, William pulls up to the factory as well as a clone of the clone, and then the clones start fighting. Jeremy gets beat up so bad, the news reporter Tamiya has to go to the supercomputer and tell the others about the situation. The presence of the news reporters doesn't really add a ton to the episode. Like, Tamiya didn't make any clutch plays on the computer or do anything based off her skills as a reporter, but I guess the gals serve the purpose of showing just how crazy the presence of these specters is to a normal person. You know, as opposed to a hardened veteran of Lyoko. But they were fun here. The Xanified William escapes back into the network as Aelita saves the supercomputer, and we end the episode with the Lyoko crew giving the news reporters a pretty detailed interview all about Lyoko.
It happens all the time. We fight Zen almost every day.
Wow, this has got to be the best scoop we've ever had.
The reason you're not going to remember any of this is
Return to the past now.
And it's so funny. I love how Jeremy's posed here. Like, he's big chillin'. I thought the William fight was pretty cool, and I've seen several people say this was one of their favorite episodes, especially because of the fight scenes and choreography. So it was pretty cool to have the complex fight scene here to be in 2D and primarily with one character for a change. Like, neither of these two things happen very often, but it's always welcome and cool. Episode 82, Distant Memory, starts with a traumatic nightmare of Aelita's childhood, with her mother being taken away by the Men in Black as Aelita lays crying in the snow. Jeremy worries about leaving Aelita alone at school during the holidays, but Aelita insists that they go home and see their families. We already know that the Lyoko crew is essentially their own family in a sense, and we know most of the crew has their own family issues, like Ulrich has a strict, angry father.
I see you're still hanging around with that gang of good-for-nothings.
and I see you forgot your happy pill again.
Yumi's parents have a pretty strained relationship, and Odd has a lot of older siblings that lock him in the bathroom because they thought it would be funny. Odd's the most athletic human I've ever seen in this universe. You're telling me his older sisters are stronger than him? They must be like demons or something. Jeremy's dad's actually really chill and very supportive of Jeremy and Aelita. He even drives back to school without any hesitation when Jeremy and Yumi aren't able to get a hold of Aelita on the phone.
I get the idea, Jeremy. Your laptop wouldn't have pink hair by any chance, would it?
Huh?
You know, I can understand that. I was in love once too.
You were? With who?
Who else? With your mother.
This line's so funny, like the inflection and the way they bounce off each other, you really feel this is a father and son. Aelita's stuck in Lyoko because she got a chat message from her father, who we can already guess is probably gonna be Xana, and despite how obvious it may be, I low-key fall for it every time. Aelita could have had the courtesy to like send the text to the others, like, hey, my dad just pinged me, going to say hi on Lyoko, BRB, but I think it's understandable for someone to act without logic in the heat of the moment, possibly finding the person you've been searching for all this time, especially with the trauma she's endured. But it's also like, come on, Aelita. Aelita realizes this is all an illusion, and then William pops out and grabs her, so the other Lyoko crew fights to save Aelita as she confronts her past, metaphorically and literally, destroying the illusion which confined her. Despite this breakthrough, Aelita's not able to escape, and please look at how she tries to fly away. I find this way funnier than it should be. Now fighting William in the ice sector without the illusion, it's actually Franz Hopper in his bubble form that comes to save the day. And you know, while watching this episode, I was beginning to think, wow, we're really approaching the end of the show. Like, are we actually gonna see Franz return, or will it just be one massive cliffhanger? The Franz bubble revealed that Xana keeps trying to throw Aelita into the digital sea in order to lure Franz Hopper out of hiding, so Aelita's role is kind of like a hostage, except she can fight and fly, sometimes. But I find it really interesting how differently Xana treats all the warriors. Like, he uses Aelita as a hostage, tunnels Yumi any chance he gets, he Xanifies people to fight Jeremy in the lab. It's fun. The episode ends with everyone getting gifts for the holidays from Odd, like he gives Jeremy a rubber duck, and he gives Aelita a spork? What are you, the Penguin of Doom? Ulrich doesn't open his present, recalling the Japanese custom of not opening your gifts in front of others, which is just like, W-Riz here. Good stuff, Ulrich. In 83, Hard Luck, Odd breaks a mirror and the others tell him it's bad luck, but he doesn't believe in superstition, so it's gonna be one of those episodes. Right away we see Jim get mad at Odd for a prank and gives him 8 hours of detention, but Odd says he didn't do it and it was probably Nicholas and Herb. So Jim gives him 4 hours of detention instead for being a snitch. To some, this might be the craziest thing Jim's ever done, but I don't know, he was kinda real for that. There's some sort of glitch bug on Lyoko that starts messing everyone up and lagging them, and it's really hilarious. Like, look at Odd here.
But
Ulrich and Yumi return to the Area 51 base from last episode, but this time it's full of Kenkerlots, which are still so funny to see in 2D. I just love these little guys. Yumi goes back to the replica to protect the kids from William, and I'm not gonna lie, she absolutely swags on William here, all by herself. I guess the terrain helped her a lot, where she can fling stuff from far away and even have a pillar fall on William. But honestly, I think this is a great piece of evidence for Yumi being the absolute MVP of this show. Like, she's clearly the strongest warrior. So we end the episode with Odd's bad luck finally turning around as we see this girl he likes leave her cell phone behind at lunch, giving him a perfect opportunity to win her over. Except this sparkly pink cell phone isn't hers, it's Jim's, and of course he'd rather not talk about it. Man, I didn't know Jim was such a diva. Good for him. Good for him. In episode 84, Guided Missiles, Jeremy wins first prize in a contest, and is invited to be in some fighter jet that's gonna shoot some test missiles. If I was being constantly hunted by Xana, like, every day, I don't think I'd ever get in a plane. Like, that seems like Xana's easiest way to just get rid of the mastermind. Even if Xana didn't send this invite, I'd be scared it would just hack the plane and boom, series over. Also, Jeremy didn't even enter the competition. It was Odd signing him up with as many entries as he could, and it's non-transferable, so Jeremy proves to Odd he's not a chicken and goes on the flight. Xana obviously screws everything up, and Jeremy calls the tower and is like, yeah, my pilot's unconscious and I'm an 8th grader, but don't worry, I got this. Want to hear some aviation trivia from one of the YouTube comments? Christopher0184, a self-proclaimed aviation nut, shares that the fighter jet, Charlie Foxtrot, is actually slang for clusterfuck, you know, like the NATO alphabet letters C and F, as well as the fact fact, the jet here is an F-15D Eagle, which the French Air Force doesn't have, so hey, thanks for that, Christopher. So the jet's hurtling towards the factory in one of the more brutal Xana executions if it were to succeed, so the rest of the Lyoko crew has a 4v1 against William, and I like that Aelita decides to just fly above him and start kicking him in the head here. William easily takes out everyone except Ulrich, who absolutely locks in here, throwing his sword where William teleports, which is a huge risk that would leave him weaponless if it failed, and is arguably the most clutch moment of the entire show, given that if William succeeded here, Jeremy, the plane, and the factory would have all exploded.
That's my remedy for a swelled head.
Yeah, well, I know 5 warriors that could also use that cure. So Aelita actually runs to the tower instead of taking her sweet time, and just before Jeremy's plane crashes and the missile hits the factory, they return to the past. Like, look at this. It could not have been any closer. In episode 85, Caddick Bombshell, I thought the bombshell would be Xana, upgrading from a missile attack to a bomb, but the bombshell in question is a pen pal of sissies from Iceland, who everyone's obsessed with. Maybe the funniest part of this is Nicholas calling back to his infamous line from a few episodes ago.
Hey, would you like to have a fantastic, breathtaking experience?
Shut up, Polyakov.
Odd and Bringa actually go on a date, which leads to Odd bringing her to the factory and showing her the supercomputer. She randomly presses a key that messes up the program Jeremy's been running, and it's like 85 episodes in, you think Odd would know better by now. Wait, actually, no I don't. The Lyoko fight is pretty cool, but there's a really funny moment I have to point out where Yumi turns into Crash Bandicoot. No, seriously, listen to it again. Maybe it's more like Stitch. So the episode ends actually without a return to the past, since Bringa goes off to the French countryside to hang out with Sissy's cousin, largely implying that Bringa's a bit manipulative and uninterested in Jeremy or Lyoko, but like, she still knows about it and could potentially just destroy the planet if she really wanted to. In 86, Canine Conundrum, everyone's annoyed at Kiwi for one reason or another, whether it's peeing in their room, tearing up their pillows, or burying their stuff, so they feel the proper punishment is to make Kiwi sleep in the factory for 2 weeks. It's actually a bit cruel and unusual if you ask me, like Kiwi doesn't know any better, and I doubt this will make him learn anything. The poor dog sleeps in a drawer half the time. Like, I guess Kiwi is a really smart dog, and they do give him pretty complex commands to like, go distract Jim or to go get the others. So maybe they're just treating him like a regular member of the crew. Like if Odd started doing all this, they'd lock him in the factory too. Xana's plan today is to take over Kiwi 2, the robotic Kiwi we saw all the way back in season 1, though here this mechanical Kiwi can duplicate itself and just starts biting people in the gym, which is crazy. Like it's not often we see Xana's schemes actually harm others. Seeing Jim and Hiroki fend off these robotic dogs with golf clubs and shot puts is one of the most random yet hilarious visuals of the whole season. Like imagine showing this to someone with no context and saying, yup, this is Code Lyoko fighting robot dogs. We even have a big fake out of Aelita falling into the digital sea, where she reveals she can also duplicate herself. The fact that Aelita saw the robot Kiwis duplicate and said, hey, I should do that too, is pretty amazing. I wonder why she never thought of that when Ulrich used his triplicate. I guess he doesn't use it very often, and maybe she shares her abilities more with Xana or something, I don't know. We end the episode returning to the past, getting rid of all the Kiwi 2s, and the crew warming up to Kiwi, deciding to lift his punishment, since at some point in all the chaos, Kiwi stepped on the keyboard and reloaded Odd's laser arrows, while Jeremy was just getting bitten by these dogs. Man, this episode was crazy. Episode 87, A Space Oddity, starts with another Kiwi-related subplot, as Odd has to hide Kiwi at the Ishiyama's house so he doesn't get discovered during school dorm inspections. To make matters worse, they have no choice but to let Hiroki watch Kiwi, and as we remember, Hiroki can't even watch a Tamagotchi. Fortunately, Yumi's parents love Kiwi, or Lychee as they all call him, and look at how Yumi's dad plays with Kiwi. Was he like in the circus or something? This is wild. The Lyoko plot this episode is a new replica supercomputer has been found, this time in a space station, which is a pretty fun change of pace. They get attacked by these weird metallic orbs, like I don't even know what to say. I guess Xana's making high-tech alien technology or something. I really wish this episode wasn't randomly marked as YouTube Kids, because I would have loved to have seen what people said about these orbs or Kiwi getting juggled like this. They also fight William this episode, and kind of similar to some recent fights, they handle him with their ranged attacks, and he just kind of says, okay, screw this, and just jumps off the edge. William, that's pretty big aura loss. I don't think there's any coming back from that. Fun fact, this is the only fight against William where he doesn't devirtualize any Lyoko warriors, though Ulrich does get devirtualized when he dives through this collapsing wall to press this key mechanism. I know it's all in the Lyoko world, but I still feel like it takes a lot of courage to will yourself to dive into a space knowing it's gonna collapse in you. Like, I don't know if I could do that in VR or something if I had it. Episode 88, Cousins Once Removed, has Jeremy's cool cousin Patrick transferring to Caddick, and Jeremy's pretty annoyed because not only is he trying to get work on the Skip Lanier done in peace, but now his cool cousin's here to overshadow him like always. Also, I feel like he looks way more like Ulrich than Jeremy. Patrick's actually pretty chill, and despite his cool exterior, he really only has kind things to say about Jeremy, which is a fun twist on the trope where the new character just pretends to be nice to everyone except the boy who cries wolf. So everyone's pretty annoyed at Jeremy, even though he's just begging for some peace and quiet to study to. Sissy eventually meets Patrick and they wind up in Jeremy's room, just snooping on his computer where they find a bunch of intel, like Jeremy's recorded messages pretending to be William's father, and how he has access to all of Aelita's information, even fake audio of Sissy, at least a decade before AI made this unsettlingly accessible to the general public. So Sissy wants to report all of this, but Patrick, being the chill guy he is, defends his cousin, asserting there must be some logical explanation to why Jeremy's been doing all of this, and that he trusts his cousin. I figured at this point Xana would take over Patrick or something, but it actually takes over Sissy, who just punches Patrick out of the room and starts messing with all the technology through Jeremy's computer. I honestly like this way more than if Patrick got possessed, and it actually lets Jeremy and Patrick work as a team, which is really useful, especially because Sissy can just straight up use Sasuke's Chidori. Like, look at this. So the Lyoko crew's able to stop Xana thanks to their combined efforts on Lyoko and Earth, and Aelita deactivates the tower, but not before doing a backflip in the transporter. Like, Patrick was seconds away from dying. One more backflip and he might not have returned to the past with you. Jeremy and Patrick make amends, but he unfortunately is moving schools once again because his parents decided he should go to school somewhere closer. You'd think they would have decided that before enrolling him in school. It's not like they didn't know where this school was. Like, what's wrong with them? Honestly, what's wrong with everyone in this show? Episode 89, Music to Soothe the Savage Beast, has the Lyoko crew trying to handle Xana, while Aelita DJs for the Subdigitals. I really appreciate that we actually see Aelita's DJ art come to fruition. There's a lot of drama about Aelita being nervous to perform in front of the whole school, and Jeremy says he won't be able to make it on time because of the calcs and computations he's running, which really upsets Aelita. Maybe the drama feels a bit manufactured, but as I've said in every other video on the show, I love all these characters so much that I really buy into their drama. Like, Aelita's pain and nervousness here is just so real and relatable to me, where it probably wouldn't work in other shows. That night at the concert, Xana possesses the Subdigital's manager, which is pretty logical, but given that this episode's dedicated to music and the Subdigitals, kind of felt like now would have been a more appropriate time for Xana to possess the music or the sound waves or something, not just a random manager we've barely ever seen. On the plus side, this does give us a music montage fight, which is pretty cool and actually makes me think they could have done this more often.
Hear the lights go out, what should I do? Subdue this channel, and yet I know gotta break away. Here now today.
Like, this came out arguably at the peak of AMVs. Also, one of the songs the Subdigitals sing is the outro credits theme, but with lyrics. Or rather that the outro theme is this song without lyrics, you know. Yumi actually takes out William and Lyoko with her fans, sacrificing herself in the process, so I guess that would make her the MVP of this episode. On the website, codelyoko.fr, which I've gotten a bit of info throughout these videos from, like some of the interviews, they actually have a system of tracking the characters' stats each episode, like how many virtualizations they all got, giving Aelita the MVP this episode. If we take a closer look, we see Aelita racked up 18 points from the 18 shots she dodged this episode, though personally I'd give the MVP to Yumi for devirtualizing William. Kind of a fun chart. Despite how cool this episode's concept was, it's probably my least favorite episode of the season. It's super cool to have Aelita's music journey reach its crescendo, but the episode just kinda lacks a bit of story and stakes for me. It really feels like we're getting to the very end of the show. We only have a few episodes left before we get to the finale, so let's keep pushing on. In episode 90, Wrong Exposure, Jeremy and Aelita search around the abandoned hermitage and find a picture of Aelita and Franz Hopper shortly before he disappeared. Odd accidentally emails this picture to Sissy when trying to send a selfie to a girl he likes, which is like incomprehensible today, but I guess 20 years ago it was more possible or something. Sissy shows her father for some reason, and we learn Franz was actually a teacher here before Mrs. Hertz took over as the physics teacher. So everyone starts to question just exactly who Aelita truly is. And since Odd is her cousin, according to them, he gets called in too. I totally forgot Odd and Aelita claimed to be cousins way back when. Honestly, I think they forgot too, cause remember a few episodes ago, didn't Odd and Aelita pretend the abandoned factory was their little rendezvous spot? Like, did Nicholas and Herb think anything of that? Maybe that's why Sissy was so violent to Herb them. They get out of this mess when Jeremy explains that if the picture of Franz Hopper was from like a decade ago, then Aelita would obviously be in her 20s, so this girl can't be Aelita. Hold on, does this make Aelita technically in her 20s? I don't want to open this can of worms today. Xana takes over Principal Delmas in the real world, along with Aelita on Lyoko, and while it seems like Xana just has been spamming taking over random people to fight lately, we at least get a cool fight between Ulrich and Aelita that's basically a lightsaber duel. Jeremy does a hard reboot of the system to reset Xana's control over Aelita, and they have to return to the past before Delmas just crushes Odd with a girder. Oh, so that's where the Pokemon's name comes from. Anyways, Aelita's so exhausted she has to catch her breath first, showing us that, per usual, you can lead an Aelita to a tower, but you can't make her rush. Like, at least walk a step forward into the tower first. Ulrich's slashing lasers away while she's risking getting shot here. Like, come on.
Too late.
When they return to the past, Aelita reveals that she never attended Caddick, despite her father being a teacher here, and that her name isn't Aelita Hopper or Aelita Stone, it's actually Aelita Schaefer. On top of this, her father's name is actually Waldo, and his middle name is Franz, while Hopper is her mother's maiden name, so they did all this to hide their identities when they moved. It feels pretty random to reveal this, like it doesn't really change anything, it's not really a plot twist. Really the biggest significance it has for me is we finally know why every episode's end credits has a file that says Waldo Schaefer on it, which is actually kind of a cool, subtle mystery in retrospect. In episode 91, Bad Connection, Odd's parents are coming to school for the screening of his new film, but he's pretty depressed because Odd's parents are loving and supporting. I think a lot of people found this so weird because, like, Ulrich's father's a proper bellend, Yumi's parents have a rocky relationship, Aelita's parents are missing, and you're upset because your parents love you? To be fair, I suppose this does kind of show how being embarrassed can be somewhat irrational. Like, I was a super easily embarrassed kid myself. But still, pretty hard to sympathize with this plot this late into the show, especially when the whole school is going to watch your film. Xana's scheme of the day is to hack everyone's cell phones, creating an evil mob that tries to push Odd and Sissy off the school. Sissy's here because her cell phone got broken by her father when he tried to fix it for her by jamming a screwdriver through it. Like, Delmas is such an interesting person. He has a pretty strict exterior, but he's actually pretty goofy. Like how someone thinks this could fix a phone is beyond me, but we also see other funny things throughout the show, like silly photos of him partying, probably drunk, and he also like sits in his office and plays computer games that have the Pac-Man music of all things.
Oh, what's the matter with this piece of junk?
What do you even do in this game? Try to put your head back on as a penguin? So the Lyoko crew travel to the tower, even using Odd's vehicle, which gives them a whole new perspective on just how talented and brave and cool Odd is. Just before him and Sissy get pushed off the top of the school by their parents, along with the rest of the school.
You know better than to get so close to the edge, don't you?
Oh yeah? I wonder who could have pushed me to the edge.
Oh, come off it, man. I read a few comments of people saying they love this Xana attack because it combines Xana's evilness with the core of these characters. Like, Odd isn't just fighting Xana, but his parents too. I just kinda wish they gave me a little more of a reason to care. Like, Odd has legitimate reasons to complain, whether it's not feeling seen in his large family, or the fact that his older siblings locked him in the bathroom overnight. But yeah, as it stands, Odd's like an IRL ninja who could be an Olympic gymnast, has a great group of friends, and is already an accomplished filmmaker. The film he made is kinda his usual shtick of filming people around Caddick and narrating it like a nature documentary, which is fun and all, but why was he filming Sissy sleeping? Why did he put a camera in a girl's room, and why is no one disturbed by this? Like, Odd. Not cool, man. Episode 92, Cold Sweat, starts with a shocking story about Yumi from the Caddick News. It's not about Lyoko or anything, it's just a picture of her in a pink princess outfit. How shocking. Odd makes Ulrich promise to take the blame for this, and I was like, gosh, Odd, why are you such a schmuck? And why is Ulrich always so stoic and agrees to this? But this is what makes these characters so dang fascinating to me. So Yumi's understandably upset at Ulrich, so we have Odd and Yumi team up, where they get transported to a replica in Siberia, where they have to escape William, and then we have Ulrich and Aelita team up on Lyoko.
Have you got a better idea?
No.
Do you think it might work?
No.
When the show first started, I thought Odd was by far the coolest character in terms of his combat. Like, he had psychic powers and ninja skills and cat-like reflexes. But now at the end of the show, I'd say Ulrich is by far my favorite character. Like, he just runs fast and slashes stuff and sometimes just throws his sword. He kinda has a high-risk, high-reward style of combat that's just so fun to watch. Aelita enters the tower pretty early this episode, but she gets the idea to hack into the data of the tower to free William. As Odd and Yumi are waiting for things to go down in Lyoko, Odd tells Yumi that maybe love makes people do crazy things, and maybe that's why Ulrich just wanted her to notice him. It kinda makes it look like Odd maybe likes Yumi here, but as we all know, the other Lyoko characters have been pushing Ulrich and Yumi together the whole show. Like, it even used to be the end credits image for the show, which I always thought was so funny and adorable. As Ulrich and Aelita try to handle things on Lyoko, we get our final Lyoko monster of the whole show, and it's amazing. This giant volcano magma titan thing, which Odd calls the Colossus. It's legitimately a terrifying reveal. Like, every Lyoko monster has been pretty tiny for the most part and just kinda shoots lasers. This monster shakes the world with each step. He's bigger than the tower. Even Jeremy, who seems to have a plan for everything, just tells them to run. This episode ends with Yumi confronting Ulrich about the embarrassing picture and how he must have wanted to have a fight so she'd think about him, but Yumi tells Ulrich he could have just talked to her, and then she kisses him on the forehead, so everyone goes off to sleep as we near the end of Code Lyoko. You'd think that's where they would end the episode, but we can't end on too sappy of a note, cause Odd calls Yumi and finally admits admits he was the one who pulled the prank. So she's understandably upset, like everyone's just lying and manipulating her. So the actual finale to this episode is Yumi submitting a new photo to the Caddick News, which seems to be of Odd and Ulrich getting out of the shower or something, and the newspaper posted it. So yeah, Ulrich ends the episode trying to kill Odd, which is honestly understandable. Like, he's gotta commit to the bit if he was gonna lie to Yumi. But to be fair, Ulrich did ask Odd to admit he was the one who posted the princess picture. It actually led to one of the rare instances of progress in Ulrich and Yumi's relationship, so W Riz, I guess.
Let's face it, she does look awful in pink. Although the color really looks great on you, Aelita.
To me, this is like a perfect episode of Code Lyoko. It truly had everything I'd want in an episode. A cool 2D fight, a cool 3D fight, real world stakes and drama. Episodes like this are kind of what I think about the most when I think back to Code Lyoko. Episode 93, Down to Earth, Jeremy has an idea to wipe out Xana for good using a multi-agent system, which is kind of like the Marabunta system from like 60 episodes ago, where this system of gray balls and slime were taking out all of Xana's monsters akin to an ant colony, and then tried to take out Aelita after that. Man, it's kind of crazy to think there was a time where Aelita didn't really have powers on Lyoko and wasn't even on Earth. Her becoming a real character and member of the crew is really one of the biggest glow-ups of the show. Meanwhile, William's parents decide to pay a visit to Caddick to check on their son, who they understandably believe has been replaced or brainwashed or something.
You know, that son of yours, he's really quite a piece of work.
I'm not just any piece of work. To be specific, I'm a digitally generated random polymorphic energy field controlled by a basic non-evolving behavioral program.
Chip off the old block, huh?
This episode might be one of the most dramatic and action-packed episodes of the entire show. We got Ulrich fighting the Colossus, climbing on top of it and slashing it, as Odd and Aelita fend off these super robot soldiers in the Arctic base. Speaking of super robots, did anyone happen to see the video a few weeks ago of a robot in Poland chasing a bunch of wild boars? Like, we're getting closer to Code Lyoko being real every day. Well, we're actually getting closer to Xana being real now that I think about it, but that's kind of depressing to think about. Ulrich and Odd are both pretty amazing here. Like, Ulrich not only fights the Colossus, but he also fends off William before getting stomped on. Odd's able to shield and shoot all these soldiers, so Aelita can enter the program to save William. And you know, we never really see Odd use this shield, but he can only fend off this army for so long before they devirtualize him. This whole sequence is kind of brutal. Like, Yumi flies straight into the swinging Colossus. Ulrich gets stomped on by the Colossus amidst his fight with William. William gets shot in the back by Odd. And by far the most brutal moment of the entire show, by a significant margin, would have to be here when Aelita wakes up in the skid, only for the Colossus to be right in front of her. Like, just watch this. For Aelita to be pinballed around in the ship, only for it to explode and to virtualize her before it falls into the digital sea, like, this whole sequence is traumatic and brutal. They didn't really play out the drama of like whether she was alive or not, maybe because the scene was already so rough. Aelita just kind of shakes it off though, like just another day in the office. In terms of action and combat, this is the best episode of the entire series, bar none. It's just amazing quality, and for a lot of people out there who haven't seen the show, I feel like seeing clips of this episode in particular could be a great enticement to actually watch it. Like, who would have known the Big Forehead show would have actually been this crazy? The program was able to complete just in the nick of time, or should I say just in the William of time, because he's finally back and non-Xanified for the first time in like almost 30 episodes. So we end the episode with William back in the real world, easing his parents' suspicion that he was replaced with a Spectre, and he's already back to creating drama between Ulrich and Yumi. We have 2 episodes left, and I'm so scared. Like, please something happen, anything. I don't want them to be in purgatory forever, please. In episode 94, Fight to the Finish, this episode starts with another Aelita nightmare, only this time it's not of her past trauma, but rather a future premonition of her father being shot in Sector 5. So William's back in the real world, but I guess I finally realized that he's not fully assimilated back to Earth culture, whether he's a Spectre or not. He really doesn't have any friends and sits alone at lunch, which is pretty sad, and then he asks the Lyoko crew if he can sit with them, but they have an awkward hesitation, and William's already kind of vulnerable and just storms off. I guess I would also hesitate if someone asked to eat lunch with me after just swagging on me for 30 episodes straight, but I love the debate and drama everyone has about William. Like, they're upset he got taken out by the Schifozoa in the first place, but Aelita makes a great point that this happens to her too, and honestly, her failures with the Schifozoa were way worse than William's, let's be honest. So they say they can be friends with William, but can't ever go back to Lyoko. While he's really been nothing but a hindrance in the fight against Xana so far, he at least helps the crew get away from Sissy here so they can go to the lab, because Jeremy just received a message from Franz Hopper. Now I know what we're all thinking, it's probably Xana, right? Well, surely with like 1.5 episodes left, they wouldn't do that to us again, right? I know we criticize how slowly Aelita walks and flips to the tower every episode, but to be fair, I guess the others could skate to the factory a little faster. Like, they're out here flipping and grinding rails. I actually do wonder though, if it's optimal to grind the rail here. I guess you'd wipe out ollieing this whole stairway. Either way, it's pretty swaggy. I really like that William doesn't really take no for an answer and shows up at the lab and is like, hey, I got beef with Xana too. Like, I want this smoke. No pun intended. But Yumi brings up an interesting point, saying William's not like them, and he's not strong enough like them. I guess I never really thought at this point, what does it mean for them to be strong? For me, I think it goes to show their discipline and commitment, like they've all sacrificed so much throughout the show. It's understandable that they would worry something like this could happen again, especially now, when the stakes are higher than ever. So they compromise and have William stay in the lab with Jeremy, as the others go to Lyoko to check on Franz. Frame 1, Xana sparks a wire in the lab and takes over William to beat up Jeremy. Xana, you are a bastard. Like, seriously, you couldn't let him hang out for 10 seconds?
I wonder why I'm not surprised.
Oh, come on, this is so messed up. She did kind of get his ass, though.
We should have brought him to Lyoko with us.
Maybe so. Go and tell that to Yumi.
Okay, he kind of got her ass, like, outstanding play. So we got our final fight with the Colossus, the embodiment of Xana's reign of terror throughout the show, which Ulrich stabs right through its mask as we see it collapse on top of Ulrich, and the light slowly fades from the crevices of its body. I love how this shot holds for a few seconds after the fact. It's so ominous in a way. And then Ulrich's gotta go to the factory right away to go fight William. While all of this is going on, Franz Hopper, in his energy ball form, supplies the power needed to run the program to defeat Xana once and for all. You may recognize this scene's playing out exactly like Aelita's premonition of losing her father for good, and Aelita understandably hesitates, but Jeremy reminds her that if she doesn't act quickly, he'll have sacrificed himself for nothing. So Aelita runs the program as we watch Franz, along with all of Lyoko, fade away in a white flash, as well as the specter of Xana rise up in a cloud of smoke, taking the form of a man with his head in his hands, then the face of a man writhing in pain, and back to the Xana symbol before fading away, as if to lose its humanity one last time. The episode ends with Aelita returning to the lab as Jeremy holds her while the others can only watch helplessly. It's such a shock to me that Aelita's premonition became reality, like ignoring the fact that she had a premonition in the first place. The others assured her this wouldn't happen, so to see their biggest fear, besides Xana taking over the world, come true, is really a sobering end to this episode, and essentially the series, as we move on to our final episode, Echoes. I think of Echoes as the calm after the storm, as this episode focuses on what the Lyoko crew's life will be like now that Xana is defeated. The crew debates if they should shut off the supercomputer, with everyone except Yumi voting to leave the computer on. As crazy as that may sound, it's understandable when it's revealed the kids fear what their lives will be like without the very thing that made them so close in the first place. Ulrich says he'll miss being a hero, Odd will miss the fun of it all, but for Aelita, she'll have to shut the door not only to her past, but to her father, who in all likelihood has permanently sacrificed himself in order for the others to live. A large portion of this episode is montages, showing us clips of the warriors' past bravery, courage, and love, before they ultimately decide to shut down the supercomputer. Ulrich and Yumi share a sweet scene where they don't exactly admit their feelings to one another, but they promise to have plenty of great moments beyond Lyoko, as Jeremy returns to the past one final time, with Ulrich and Yumi holding hands, looking into each other's eyes as the light washes over them. Code Lyoko ends on a shot of the Lyoko crew looking up to the sky as Ulrich randomly unsheathed his swords to aura farm one last time. Like, there was no reason to do this, but he knows it was tough. We see the Xana logo etched onto the supercomputer, with light piercing through, as if to slice through Xana once and for all. Light's conquered darkness, good over evil, and these kids letting go of their past can now move on to the next chapter of their lives. There's no returning to the past, but these echoes will reverberate and shape their future. Code Lyoko will always have a special place in my heart because of just how close these characters were. Like, I can't think of many shows that portray a friend group with such maturity and love, especially when you consider all the drama and squabbles they had like every episode. They risked their lives and sacrificed so much. Even Jeremy, who often missed out on school events, cooped up in his room with his weird Einstein poster that randomly opens and closes its mouth. Like, seriously, what was up with that? While the ending is left open and ambiguous enough for the possibility of more Code Lyoko, like they could make a new episode that says, oh, what's this? Franz Hopper had one final message, or he's still there, let's go save him. As it stands, it's a really fitting ending for Code Lyoko to end on this level of closure. Code Lyoko wasn't one with the crew doing some big team attack on Xana, or Aelita's parents showing back up to take her home. It ended in a series of small victories that were built up from all the hard work the crew committed to every episode. Aelita's nightmare became reality, but throughout this whole ordeal, she made some of the best friends anyone could ask for. Even though sometimes they randomly post embarrassing photos of each other to the school newspaper, they oftentimes have good intentions. We even see the crew make friends with William and Sissy, and it's so sweet to see that all it took for Sissy to finally become friendly with the crew was for them to basically say, hey Sissy, you're our friend and all, just stop being a schmuck. And she's shocked to learn that they're actually friends in the first place. Like, she instantly becomes friendly when they acknowledge her as their friend, which is really funny to me. Like, did you ever have someone randomly tell you you're their friend or they like you and your entire perspective of the person changed in an instant? Anyways, this for now is how the original run of Code Lyoko ended. It seems to be left just open enough that it could be continued further, but the story of Code Lyoko doesn't exactly end here. A series of 4 novels called Code Lyoko Chronicles was released as a bit of a more mature alternate canon continuation of the series. I haven't read through them just yet, but I'm planning to read them on some flights I'm taking soon, which might be the worst time to read them now that I think about it. There's also Code Lyoko Evolution, the French live-action series that the original show's creators departed from because they didn't like the direction of the show, the amount of control they had on it, and the fact that it wasn't getting a second season. A lot of people have advised me that the show isn't very good and is overall kind of disrespectful and depressing for what goodwill Code Lyoko had built up, but I'm really curious to see what it's like because I've never even seen as much as a clip from the show. All I know is the production was really rough due to some shareholders pulling out, the actors not getting paid, and Moonscoop facing lawsuits and filing for bankruptcy. That might seem like a really depressing end for this video, but not all hope is lost, because on June 12th, head writers and directors Sophie de Crozet and Jerome Muscadet will be holding a 2-hour radio show show filmed in front of a live audience in which they'll talk all about Code Lyoko. So if anything's going to be revealed for a future of Code Lyoko, mark this date. And also, if any of y'all know French, I would love to know what they're talking about if someone plans on translating the key takeaways. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for watching this whole series on Code Lyoko. It's really been one of my favorite series to make, and I'm so glad I got to share it with y'all. Thanks to my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters, Flinley, Jakira, Paul H, Robert Rock, and Niaru Senpai. These videos are made in part to viewers like you. Alright, I'll talk to you next week. Bye!